How's it going, YouTube? Coming in today with another video, and today, guys, the bring to you is going to be one of the most important videos I post on this channel, and that's going to be a huge conversation about the battle phase, and I really do hope that this helps you. I did delete the short that I made, somehow forgot the after damage calculation slide, even though it was on there, then it disappeared, I don't know. But I want to make a fuller, in-depth video on the battle phase in general, because this is probably one of the biggest questions we get in the community is just, how does the battle phase work? How does the damage step work? And what can we do in the battle phase? So I hope to break that all down and more for you today in this video. Definitely stay tuned and check out everything that you may not have known. So definitely go ahead and check out my sponsors over on RW, Cloud, Gem, Arla, Imperium, Dragonshield, and Grimoire. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel for more educational content. I appreciate each and every one of you. We're aiming for 30,000 by the end of the year, so let's hope to get there. It's going to be an amazing time and a huge celebration once we do. So let's hop right in with a side note. So, this is a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Pet peeve of mine. Please know that in the draw phase, you can activate quick effects. If it's your turn and you have a quick play spell card, you can rip it in the draw phase. I don't know why I see people just go standby phase and then try to rip something and then play into draw. You are allowed to do more in the draw phase than just draw a card. So this is something that I want to let you know. We already know you can activate things like prayer and the draw phase, which is great. But I feel like there's always like the one card that everyone knows you can activate in the draw phase, and everyone just kind of forgets. Like if you want to go draw phase priority super poly, absolutely. Like, if your opponent has two water monsters on the board and one's Dweller, you just go priority, draw phase, super poly, and just get rid of the problem, right? So you can activate quick effects in the draw phase. I see this far too often, and I want to make sure that you know that you can activate quick effects on your own turn in the draw phase. And, of course, if it's your opponent's turn, you have, like, a quick play spell card set, you can rip it then as well. But the draw phase is for more than just drawing. It's very important, and please utilize it more. So, the start step of the battle phase is when you and your opponent agree to go into the battle phase. Now, this is before attacking. This is just you were in the battle phase. This is an open game state. So, a lot of times, if you have something like Book of Eclipse, and you know this is just going to be like the showstopper, you just go to battle phase, and then your opponent has priority for quick effects, right? And then they can pass priority to you for any quick effects. So, a lot of times, if your opponent's like main phase, battle phase, I'm just letting you go battle phase, and then I'm activating Book of Eclipse in the battle phase, because then your monster's booked face down, you can't flip it face up, right? So it makes for a lot of really good gameplay when you hold your cards to the right moment. But there is going to be a moment before attacks are declared where you're just in an open game state where you can pass priority back and forth on quick effects, which is very important. Any magic arrow is going to be a player priority quick effect at the start of battle phase. So there are going to be a lot of cards in the game that have a lot of very specific activation windows. Any magic arrows is going to be the start of the battle phase. So usually the phrase that you hear people say whenever they want to do anything in start a battle is they'll go start a battle. And that usually indicates to your opponent that, you know, this is before attacks are declared. This is just me trying to activate something in the start of the battle phase. So if you have anything to activate on attack declaration, the usual sentence you'll hear out of people is on attack deck. And that just means on attack declaration, I have an effect, right? So during attack declaration, a attack is declared, and then the effects on the attack declaration will activate. Normal quick effects are still able to be used. We're not in the damage step yet. This is still just attack declaration. So things like Fenrir, where you go attack on attack declaration, target something to banish it face down. This would be a perfect example of an effect on attack declaration. Now let's say I attack with Fenrir and then my opponent's monster count changes. Because let's say I attack a monster and then I target that monster with Fenrir, that monster gets banished. The Fenrir can now go ahead and redeclare an attack because that monster is no longer there. The monster count changed. Redeclares don't count as declaring. So if you're in a redeclare and you go to attack, your opponent cannot activate Link Rebo because this is only on attack declarations, not on attack redeclarations. Start of damage step isn't really all too important unless you have an effect that specifically says that the start of damage step, like Mystic Swordsman level 2 over here, this is going to be a very prime example of a start of the damage step effect. If you have an effect that can be activated in the damage step, this would be a good time to use it if you want to. But we also have the before of damage calculation. So there's going to be the start of damage step, and then there's before damage calc. So they're two different steps, but they're both very important. So this is where flip monsters are flip face up. No effects are applied just yet. So if you attack into a needleworm, it's just going to flip up, and then we're not going to see the effect just yet. This is also going to be the last option to change the stats of monsters. This is extremely important because if your opponent goes damaged calc and then tries to activate droplet at a tournament, that droplet is an illegal activation. They cannot use that. They need to use it on before damage calculation. Same with things like honest. You have to use it before damage calculation. This is the last chance to change the stats of monsters. Now, along the line of all the crazy rulings that Droplet has, would you believe me if I told you there was another one? So, if your opponent's Xyz monster attacks your monster, now this could go the same both ways, but let's just say your opponent's Xyz monster is attacking your monster. Before damage calculation, Droplet sends the monster who was attacked. Your opponent can't redeclare the attack because you're in damage step, therefore there's no option to even be able to redeclare, and no monster is considered to have battled, so Zeus can't be made main phase 2. This is because during damage calculation, once you compare stats and apply damage, that's when monster is considered to have battled. This is extremely important, and that's why that droplet ruling was so potent when Zeus was really popular. So during damage calc effects apply here as well, like Empen, and then this is where we check for what is marked for destruction, but we don't quite send the monsters to where they need to go yet. Now, after damage calculation, this is where like There Can Be Only One goes in, etc., like Rivalry, would send the flip monsters if you need to send the flip monsters. So if you already have other things on your board and then the monster flips up and it has to go to the grave, because it's not what it needs to be for the floodgate, it will end up going to the graveyard from these effects that constantly apply, they don't activate, so it would just auto send to the grave. And then we would attempt to activate the effects of the flip monsters or the effects of monsters that happen after damage calculation or when damage is inflicted. So this would be a perfect example of Hayate. This cannot be ashed because we are still in the damage step, and you can only activate things that are going to negate activation and not affect. Now for the end of the damage step, this is where you send your monsters that are destroyed. Also, effects activate if destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, etc. So things like Unchained monsters, when they're killed by battle, now they will activate. Then you will exit the damage step till the end of the damage step effects now stop applying. And so now we will go right back to the battle step, where we will go into potentially another attack, another open game state, or just whatever it is that we need to do to continue the battle phase or continue the duel. Effects that can activate in the damage step are specifically things that change stats, so like attack and defense, negate activation, or specified damage step effects, so like the ones that we've already covered previously in the video. So again, this means that you cannot Skullmeister in the damage step, but you can Bell in the damage step. Now we have the end of the battle phase. This is where you use specified end of battle phase effects like Evenly Match, which is really popular, but the thing that you really have to know is that once you go to end of battle phase, you can't just like go back to attacking. The next step after being in the end of battle phase is just to main phase 2. I do hope that this did shed some clarity on how the battle phase works and especially how the damage step works, because it can be very confusing, but I wanted to be able to break it down today as much as possible for you going into your next tournament so you can get an edge, because you know the rulings now and you know how it works. So definitely go ahead and check out my Twitter, Twitch, Discord, Instagram, and definitely go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you.